Droog is putting the needle on the record.
And trying to find the record?
And
Did that not even go through at all?
cranking the controller.
Okay, we're having some minor technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. It seems my music has gone away. So, we're going to start this off and...
Sing it!
No, I don't think I want to subject anyone to my voice like that there, Bill. Everything that I had put together has gone away. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Mod Zoo Hangout. We have Chris on the air with us.
Hello.
And we have Bill joining us.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
And nobody else has volunteered to step into the monkey pit with us yet, but we've got the lines open just in case. And so this week we're going to be discussing your first custom build. So any of you who are viewing, keep that in mind. Try to come up with some questions. If you want to go over to themodzoo.com, pop into our forum section, get yourself logged in, go down to the shout box, and you can drop a question in there, and we'll pick that out. Or you can go over to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/themodzoo. And I've already got a post up there detailing that we're on the air, and you can throw a question in on that. So, Chris, do you have any updates on the Mod Zoo's news this week?
I always have updates when it comes to the Mod Zoo. It's just a matter of whether or not we ever have time for them. Yeah, so this week, actually it's kind of a bit of both from last week and this week. So it might be a little bit of two project spotlights. So the first one being Scout a Robo Apocalypse by Insolent Gnome. I was going to share this one last week because he posted a bunch of final pictures of it, but we never got around to that part of it. So I figured I would go ahead and show it again this week, or I guess put it on the agenda again this week. So this one was, I think this was a giveaway case, wasn't it, Bill? I think this was one
it was.
that Bill gave away.
On Twitter, I did a giveaway last year because they had sent me that sample for review that Greg and I had reviewed at a shop last year. Oh, that was what it was. It was in the video I did the giveaway. I basically said, describe what kind of modifications you would do and just promise us that you would share it in the Mod Zoo when you did the modifications. And Dave came through for us. And who would ever predicted it would have been this epic?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet, especially all the stuff that he went through for the window too. That was pretty crazy. It's like that cast window with the, I think he has EL light in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sweet. And then the other project highlight, this one just popped up earlier today. Skyview. I like it, but again, like I said before, I might be partial. So that's.
I agree with you. I like it too.
That was another one that he Slippery Skip wrapped up this week. Well, I guess I don't know when he wrapped it up, but he updated us this week.
Oh, I like the SSD location. That's cool. On the very bottom.
Well, I like that they're easy to hide. That's what makes it. I like how he described it too. Upskirt shot. Oh, great! Now we're gonna have to put an age restriction on our. Yeah, so that was pretty sweet. So that was that for the project spotlights. The other thing is that we got the Silverstone Raven X review is posted. That got published early this week, as well as, I don't know if we mentioned it last time, but the Thermaltake Core X71 is also there. I think we just pushed that one out on Facebook too. The Deep Cool Dew case, I have that one in my possession, and I will be working on that one. I believe the NZXT Manta is still in the works by Stu, and Graham just posted a video where they did an unboxing of the Fantex P400, and that should be coming out with a written review in the near future. So keep an eye out for that, and that pretty much wraps up everything I had for the zoo update.
Did you guys watch the video with Graham, Greg, and Captain Curry?
I did, yes.
Yes. I thought it was a throwback to Grizzly Adams and Mad Jack, those guys doing that unboxing.
Maybe, except for there wasn't enough white beard.
Well, there will be. Give it time, I'm sure.
So true.
You know what? Also, what I found interesting, what I like about that case by Fantex, and I was surprised that they were doing a case that was, aimed at the silent crowd. The magnetic Moduvent style covers for the fans on it. And Moss, you and I have a lot of experience dealing with the Moduvent plastic clips. And so,
I think I broke 2 or 3.
Yes. I think that's kind of the initiation with it. So I have to say I really like that their take on it of using magnets instead. Very clever.
Yeah. I also like that I saw they had those magnetic mesh single piece, so you could take off one of the covers and then put magnetic mesh filter over the other opening, so you could have one vent opening and covered with mesh instead of having to have all of them or none.
I have to admit, maybe it's just me, but I'm amazed at how many new model cases Fantex is rolling out.
Yeah,
it's just,
for sure.
It was because it was just the Primo, and then it was the Lux for the longest time. Now they've got a whole line of cases. It's just amazing. How do they do that?
They must sell enough to make some money to hire some people to be able to churn out some designs.
Yeah.
And now we have dead air.
And this is where Jesse was supposed to be talking. Come on, Jesse.
Where are you at, Jesse? Captain Curry Sauce is MIA. He had said that he was going to be here, but decided not to play along.
He's got a review he's working on.
Oh, yeah. Excuses. Yeah, giving him too much homework, Bill.
He's probably not even in the house.
Well, if your weather is as good as our weather is, I don't blame you guys.
It's 60.
I said to him, "Are you going to get your motorcycle out today?" Maybe he said no. I think they just bought their first home, so they're pretty much focused on that, as you are too. We've got 2 monkeys with fairly, new home purchases in the last year, and you're learning what's involved with owning your first home.
Yeah, I was just sharing with the guys before we jumped on here, but I discovered a bit of a water problem behind the garage in my new house, the new workshop. It's a detached garage out back, and there's some water that's collecting on the backside of the foundation and seeping through, so that'll be fun. Maybe I should start a thread in the zoo in the non-members section, or non-member work logs, whatever we called that. I can't remember. We called it something like non-PC or maker related, I think.
Yeah, that you just launched that a week ago, a brand new subforum for anybody doing scratch builds, finally.
Yeah, I don't think this one was dedicated to scratch builds. We could probably have one for that, but we had a maker or non-PC work logs where the idea was like, I think Kyle posted a Raspberry Pi fan controller, and we did so. I moved a bunch of topics actually. Like a Gil Acoustic had a trackball that he was converting from being a bus to USB, and I think a couple of like keyboard mods and flash drive holders and that kind of stuff.
Anything goes. It's just a separate category from PC cases.
Yep, and that's under the same heading. The Project Central forum subgroup is Project Central, and then underneath that there's the maker non-PC work logs. So maybe I'll have to throw something in there for the regular garage workshop updates.
Yeah,
or house modding.
House modding never ends, man.
Yeah. Especially on old houses.
Oh God, yeah. I've been working on this for close to 10 years, and it's still going.
Mm-hmm.
Never gonna end. So, well, I guess we can bring it into the main topic, and let's wax nostalgic. Building
We
your
have to. I don't.
too many custom builds there, but under the belt, Bill.
No, 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 no. I think um, yeah, I think well, everybody's, I would presume, has done their first custom build that's a Modzu fan or member, or maybe not. And I was just going back in history, and I think it was just going down memory lane to 2000, 2000, and I was looking back at the archives on pimprig.com through archive.org, and kind of made me sad in a way. All those people, the screen names, member names that I was recalling, and most of those people aren't around, still in this hobby, and it kind of made me sad that they didn't, they don't. I mean, other than you and Thrasher too, Anthony Reynolds, I'm not in contact with any of those people, and they were so into it. But where are they today? Where's the builds today? It's like, am I just an oddball for still loving this hobby so much? I don't know. So it kind of made me depressed in a way.
No, I think we were discussing some of the, shall we say, core troubles that ended up with the demise of the Pimp Rig / PC Apex community, and there's a good portion of it that they left on their own for the drama reasons, and a lot of people, when the drama poisons it, it poisons the love of the hobby too. I think.
Yeah, that's true too. And I think too, the big thing is, as you guys know, once you get married and you've got a mortgage, you've got car payments, that the hobby goes off to the side, it gets compromised. Well, not compromised, but your life changes. What's important.
Deprioritized.
Yeah, and since I do this for a business, I am in a unique situation where I can still, I still stay in it. And then you guys are on the staff of a hardware review site, so you're still in it from like much more serious standpoint than the average consumer or fan or builder. So I got to keep that in perspective. Anyways, today's topic is sharing your very first custom build. I'm not talking about, well, I mean, I guess what's custom and what's not. I think custom is maybe you made some modifications to it, you changed, you added lighting to it, or handles or feet or custom fan grills. To me, that's custom. You change it so it just doesn't look stock. Because I've got my very first build was a Chief Tech, or I should say Chen Ming Dragon, the same green case, but it was a black one. That was my very first custom PC build that I did on my own. But what I want to see is what was your first custom build that you consider that build? Like, ooh, you actually took some time to plan out what you did, and took some pride in it, and maybe it was your first delve into PC modding. So, Drew, I don't even know if you've ever shared with me what your first custom build.
Well, I look at it in two different directions. I don't really have a fully painted, lit up, custom build. I've done a little minor chopping here and there on the insides to get the wire working. It was Zacer 2 was the first time I ever put tin snips to metal in order to open things up.
Which was a copycat of the Chen Ming Chief Dragon.
Yep. And you got to have that little, you don't even really need to destroy the motherboard tray in order to get things going, but flipping out a couple of 1-inch tabs, smoothing those down a little bit so you can start feeding the wires in and not slice yourself open, or cut the wires when you put the case back together just through compression. That was my biggest problem with that case, was the fact that there was little to no space at all in the back. They did expand it a little bit from the basic Chen Ming, so you could almost fit a 4-pin Molex behind the motherboard tray. Not quite.
What a nightmare.
And so there was a lot of pushing, shoving. I actually think at one point I took a ball-peen hammer just to dent the motherboard tray just a little bit. My first actual... I consider my first PC to be my first custom build because when I bought it, I got a box of parts from the guy. And his exact words were, if I don't show you how to do this and then force you to actually do it, you're going to keep bothering me every time something goes wrong. Because this was an old motherboard with dip switches and the 8 1 meg sticks of RAM. You know, I had 8 megs of RAM, and I was styling at that point on a 486 DX4100. And so he taught me how to do everything from the ground up with that thing. And to me, really, because I was able to tweak the entire thing from the ground up, learning what every single one of those stupid little switches on every single component did, that was a major... It was a work of love by the time I was done with it. And then I discovered what actual hot rodding the case should be. And at that point, I was adding... I think I got rid of some ventilation issues on a gateway that I had purchased after that. And opening that case up a little bit to get it to breathe. Having to straighten that case out, I dropped it on the way to a LAN party one day. It landed on the front corner, bounced back up into my arms.
Oh!
Everything survived.
Sure.
Hard drive was fine. It torqued it out of true by 1/2 inch. And so I had to sit there with some bricks and just lock it into place while I twisted and wrenched it back into shape. But yeah, everyone was freaked out because I walked in, I pushed the door open behind me, and all of a sudden they hear me start swearing after that nice solid bang sound.
Do you have any pics of it by chance?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What about you, Moss? Moss, do you have pics of your first custom build?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm going to share them.
I want to guess. Maybe I'm wrong, but isn't it that IBM desktop? I recall that work log.
Dang it, you were right.
Yeah.
Actually, the desktop format case was the first mod that I did. But the first case that I did was actually, or build, I guess. It depends on what you define as custom. Because it was custom for a while. Actually, here, let me share my screen. I'll turn off that. I do have. I was actually kind of prepared, and then I completely lost the window.
That happens. Well, here's the thing. What I envy is that your log is your work log still online for this when you did it?
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
the PC-AT is. This one I never had one, so this was an original IBM IntelliStation Z Pro 6221, which is a bunch of words for saying it used to be an IBM computer.
Kind of looks like a master case.
I still had that case. I think I might still have it at my parents' house. But
wait,
this was my first mod ever. I super glued a tiny 40mm fan.
Classic.
I super glued this fan on the front of the case, and I took pliers and cut out or ripped out the back section of the front mesh just to get a little bit of airflow over the hard drives.
Did that make a difference?
Probably not.
But you know what? A for effort, my friend. For effort.
That was I didn't actually build it, but that was my first mod ever, technically. But then after that, I moved it to a Lian Li, whatever the heck it was, PCG70B. Right. So this giant tower.
2007.
Yeah. And back in the day when IDE cables, those colored rounded ones, those were sweet.
Pimp.
So this was, I took the hardware out of the IBM case and put it in a new case. So I guess that would kind of be my first custom computer.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I would say even the little fan You know, anything that isn't stock anymore.
Yeah. And then I later bought. I didn't make. I bought the side panel with the window.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this was after I added my RAID cards and all that stuff. But yeah, so I added a crap ton of hard drives because it was my file server for a while. But yeah, that was my first custom computer. It's pretty sweet. Had dual Xeon
It is
processors.
sweet. It's very sweet, and I envy you for having all these pictures.
Well, you see all those hard drives? I don't get rid of anything. I don't delete anything. But
Hey, you're
yeah.
starting to get in on my gig there.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
he is.
that was my first custom PC build.
Drew, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, it's just at this point I'm trying to find my time to get into actually doing a full up chop mod.
Yes, you are.
Join you
That's
guys
right.
again. Got to get that water
right.
cooling loop done first, and then this case here, I've got a half 92 that is, I mean, these are beautiful modding cases. So all kinds of stuff that I can
2.2
do.
or half 932? Which
You know, I'm not positive. I think it might be the
is it?
932.
Full tower?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, those are great cases. I like those. You know, when those came out, you know, the very rugged, industrial, hard edges, I still love those. But they, it seems that the market overall just kind of has gone so much to more sleek and clean lines. But there's such a, the half series are still one of my favorite for like doing like themes with sci-fi, you know, science fiction kind of themes. You know.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, personally, the, I don't know, I look at it almost like it's a blank easel, just that strong rectangular base for
Yeah.
this. I mean, you can build your curves out from there if that's what you're going to do, and it's not very often that I see a case that has those curved lines on them
Yeah.
that lend themselves to. You almost have to have a case that was designed intentionally to be a tribute to a specific something before it really works as the basis for that kind of a mod.
Yeah, I find that for me, inspiration, I have to be driven by a vision to like which pushes me to try to manipulate that and try to capture those elements of it into something. And good segue because my build, unfortunately, I don't really have. I can't get the work log anymore. Pictures. I've only got. You know, that's too big of a screenshot. I think covering up my window. Can you see the full thing, or is it cut off when you look
It's
at it?
cut off.
It's cut off. Let's see here. Let me do screen share. Let's see. Let's see here. Share this screen. Whoa. Didn't want to do that. Infinity.
Goodbye, Matsu. And this is how Kyle always crashes the forums.
What I want to share? Sharing the wrong thing.
Oh yeah, because when you're doing that little screen selection, it's not exactly clear as to what you're
sharing. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Here. How about that? There we go. All right. Sorry about that. The inspiration. I did this in 2000, and it was my first custom build, and it was for a friend of mine. And at the time, it was those stupid, dude, you're getting a Dell commercials. You guys remember those? The Dell guy?
Yeah.
And that propelled me to come up with something that was anti-Dell, and so I called this the Dell Eater. And it was inspired largely by like my love for cars. It has actually the carry handle on top is a door handle from a Volkswagen GTI, and there's a little exhaust fan inside there. And then the front volt gauge was from the gauge cluster in the car, the same car, and the light switch for actually I used the headlight switch from the car to turn on the lights inside, and then I have a fighter pilot switch for the main power. And that was my first custom build, and I was looking back on that And the big question I was asking myself is, and you guys too, is like, what would you do differently? What was the big thing that you look back and think, God, I've really struggled with this one thing. If I just maybe taken a bit more time to find better options, or research or hone my skills on something. For this, the case I chose was an Inwin, I believe it was a 901, and it was a Pentium 1 era case. And you can't tell in these pictures, but the cover, it's all one piece. Left, right, and top panel are all one piece that comes off by sliding it off the back. And it was like a desktop case. And in retrospect, when I did that, I added this custom window, and I've got fans, 80mm intake fans on the side. The problem is when you go to remove that cover, you've got to disconnect this stuff and kind of finagle around the window channel and all this. It's just like a pain in the ass to take apart.
Oh, don't worry, Bill. I did that on visible contrast too. I have that LCD panel, and the LEDs associated with that are wired up in there on the side panel. And the way I ran them is I ended up with just barely enough to connect them. So it's like you pop it off, and then you have to like kind of swing it open and then unplug before you stretch something too far and rip something apart.
I know. I don't know. It was a learning experience. It really was. And I also like at the time we didn't have really good options for sleeving. Nobody really sleeved anything back then, So I look at this stuff, and how do I bring myself back now? I just want to come back to the screen, guys, and get out of here.
There should be a button at the top that says "Stop Sharing." Hey, that's me again.
Let's see. Where's screen?
Oh.
Stop sharing, Bill.
Damn it, Bill.
Stop sharing.
No, I was going to say that the all-in-one cover like that, I remember that was my very first case, had that same thing. It had the single screw in the back and then the 2 screws at the very bottom to pin it together. And the one that I got, for the longest time, in order for me to get that case off, I actually had to put a screwdriver in at the top and the front and pry it back just enough to release all of the pressure. And once I got that, the whole thing would kind of slide off. You still had to wiggle it back and forth, but it had 4 or 5 of those the slot style keys that it would hold everything together with.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, well, I mean, we've come so far since then too,
Bill.
I just want to stop sharing.
If you put your mouse in the Hangout window and then hover, usually there's a bar at the top that says "Stop Sharing."
Stop sharing. Let's see.
We're just going to get to look at the eater, since all we can see is the bottom half of
I will say this. I was trying to look up the specs because I really don't remember them. It had an MSI motherboard, which was cool at the time. It's 2000. It was a red PCB board. It was like a Athlon Thunderbird, I believe, processor. And the video card was a Gainward GeForce 2. GeForce 2, everybody. Think about it. Think about that, how old that is.
I remember those suckers. They used the 40-pin parallel ATA to SLI them together if you were so lucky as to have 2.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Honestly, that was before I got into computers. I mean, the first one that I just shared there, that was, well, I still wish I could go back to dual processor setup because that was fun, but I just can't spend that much money anymore. Actually, I never spent the money in the first place, but yeah. So that one they were Pentium 4 era Xeons, dual Xeons, 2.66 gigahertz, but they were only both hyper-threading. They weren't dual core or anything like that. So 4 threads, and it's like, well, my whatever it was, Q9400, the update to the 6600 Core 2 quad that I had for like 5 years was faster. But it was just kind of fun. And yeah, that first graphics card that I bought to put in that thing was an AGP slot, is how far back that went.
Oh, the old AGP, Accelerated Graphics Port.
Yeah, it worked great, except then the power supply died and took that port out. But yeah, that was not so great.
Well, I remember I said once in a video, I said AGP in it, and I got ridiculed. AGP? Are you kidding me? I said, I just slipped. I'm sorry. I'm an old guy. It was a big deal when it came out.
The original PCI slots, oh wow, it's been a long time since I've done this game. Every now and again at work, we'll pull the hey new guy, what do you call this card? Throw a random component at them and just sit back and watch them squirm. An old, currently a PS2, the 4-pin mouse plug, and that's the stumper for most of them these days.
Do we have anybody tuning in and watching today? I know the weather's probably the warm front El Nino's covering most of the Midwest and East Coast, well, all over. So who would be inside on their computer right now besides us?
Oh, Alex has corrected me. I was thinking of the 3DFX Voodoo cards. Yes, mea culpa. I had a couple of those, Voodoo 2 and a Voodoo 3, so that's why I remember that connector.
Why isn't Alex in here with us?
That's a good question.
Yes, he has a camera.
Yeah, he actually has several cameras, and he has access to the link here. I'll give it to the main grouping again.
He seems to show up right before we start the Hangout every Sunday and be like, oh, yeah, sorry, guys, I'm too busy. My Tesla needs to get waxed today. Ha, 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 ha.
I still think it's funny how we still don't have Bill's video.
Did you set your lower third as like a full screenshot by any chance, Bill?
Hi.
Hey, whoa, look at that.
Wow, completely thought I was looking in the wrong place. Well, hey, it's a learning experience, and 6 months from now, you will not believe how talented we are with Google Hangouts.
Just in time for us to move to something else and screw it all up from the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, bring Alex in here. Go grab him. He's hiding in the corner.
He's posting comments in the YouTube chat. So we know you're there, Alex. We'll come find you. You can't outrun us for that long because my car has a better range.
Eventually, you're going to have to charge that battery, Alex.
And then you're going to have to wait much longer than me.
The mean combustion engine is going to catch up to you eventually.
Even if it is all 4 cylinders of fury. Woo!
Yeah, that's funny. Hey, do you want to pull a couple of questions, guys? I got some here for us. Let me pull them up here while we wait for Alex to tune in.
See if he answers his invite.
Let's see here. This is a good one. This is from James R. in the forums. Hey guys, I'm considering sleeving the cables on my fully modular power supply. Would it be better to buy all new wire for my runs or simply disassemble my current power cables?
Ooh, that's a good one.
How much time do you have, James? Do you like to watch long movies, or do you have box sets of movies while you're working you can watch?
That's a good approach. Or, I got it, weekly hangouts.
Weekly hangouts.
You can watch our weekly hangouts.
I agree. Yeah, it's just it's the way I look at it. The last time I did a power supply was a few years ago, as I learned my lesson. because time is valuable, and I watched the entire Planet of the Apes series on DVD. Um, is it is a skill to learn, and there's specific tools you want to buy for it, and there's research, and you want to get the right sleeving and get the connectors. Do you see yourself doing it again, maybe in a couple years, or is it just kind of a one-time thing that you may just live with this for like 5 years in this build or whatever? That's where I found the justification. It's like, well, I'll probably have to do it again, or maybe sleeve some individual fan connectors or whatever if I invest in the tools. I could justify it, but maybe you want to just consider your time. How much time do you have, and how important it is to learn that skill or not? You have to decide for yourself, because it is very time consuming. But there is a great pride in accomplishing it too, especially when you got individually sleeved cables and your connectors are, whether it be white or black, and match everything. It's kind of up to you. I'm definitely going to tell you that I try to avoid it at all costs now. I just don't have the time to do it.
Yep, I do too. I've done a few, and if your case is or your power supply is modular, I usually opt for just buying all new wire and then sleeving that, or adding ends and sleeving, just because it's a little bit easier, because then you're skipping the step of having to put all that stuff together on top of the things that are already there. Whereas, like, I've done it before where I've crimped one end and then I've taped it and then I've slid the sleeving on and then I've crimped the other end and then finished sleeving. So that way you don't have to tape over the end that you're trying to thread the sleeving over, so it doesn't catch and all that crap. So sometimes it's a little bit easier that way, but I don't know, if it's something you like the look of, it's probably worth the time, because the money saved is significant over getting a good set of cables. But at the same time, I also try to usually just use all black wire instead.
Yeah, just
because I like that look.
Yeah, and before there was this whole trend in sleeving cables and having these super clean layouts, which then became individually sleeved cables and a wide array of color choices and types of the different weave, and going of like what is it, parachute?
Oh, paracord.
Paracords and stuff like that. But that's a huge, massive market in itself for sleeving power supplies. Is that there was people like back in the time when I did the Dell Eater, where that would take, and Drew touched upon this in a previous Hangout, Voodoo PC, of just taking the time of what you have with the stock wires and laying them out really nice and clean, and using like cable ties and adhesive bases for the cable ties to just lay out everything so it's super clean. I think I still have an appreciation for people that do that with builds with the factory cables, and when you look at the backside of the motherboard, everything's all laid out nice and clean. They've taken the time to do that, because as you guys know, that takes a great deal of patience to do that. Okay, I'm basically going to sit down here for about an hour or two and work on this. So I think that you can still do something that looks really nice, but also I understand that when you're trying to like separate yourself from the crowd, you want to have something that looks matches your color theme. Like, for example, if it's orange and gray and white, you can do that now. You can get all the sleeving to really match a color theme nicely, which you see a lot of these people do. And there's a lot of people on the Madzu forums that do it too. And if you have any questions about getting into it, just start a thread on the forum, and we'll direct you to some resources. There's actually a lot of great online stores now that cater exclusively to just sleeving, so you've got a lot of options, which is nice today.
I will say, having seen the evolution of sleeving, going from watching people take McDonald's, or was it Burger King, going to Burger King because they had those extra thick straws,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
and using those to feed the mesh over, and it wasn't the nice soft paracord stuff that they use today. It was that harsher. They would use it to protect wires in wall runs. And there were a couple of stores that I remember seeing that I thought it was kind of cool that they were selling Kevlar blend. There was a lot of the fireproof weaves and things like that I saw too. And watching people giving 5-minute tutorials on how to properly scorch the ends with your lighter just to get that perfect seal, and then heat tubing over that. And if you're gonna do it, be prepared for a lot of work. I know personally, I've gone through several sets of the pin extraction tools. I don't know if it's just because I've got fat, dumb hands that have no idea how to use these tools or not, but I've had no luck. No luck at all extracting pins. I just snip them all and I go from scratch.
I learned the art of the dismantling a Mullix cable, and like how the pin has those really two fine little folds that come off the sides, of taking an X-Acto knife, going in there and rebending those out again so I can reuse the Mullix, when I'm sleeving. I learned to just kind of use what I have on hand. But yeah, you can really get into specialized tools. Another thing is that Case Labs have now started working with $1 Million PC and distributing their sleeving here in the U.S. and their line of tools, and they've had some really nice tools. There's also another company called Ensource, ensource.net, I believe, that has custom cable supplies. And there's the other one that was on our forum too, Mas. What was their name that took over new ownership?
There was Lutro, and now it's Mainframe Customs.
Yeah, Mainframe Customs. Yep. Mainframe Customs had bought Lutro Customs. Mainframe is in California, and they're sharing a shop with PC Junkie Mods, Lee Harrington, and they specialize in sleeving. And there's options out there. So, but yeah, if you have any questions about it, just go ahead and go on the forum. You guys want to go on to the next question? We'll make it our last question.
Well, we also have an Alex in house now.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, you baited me into this, Bill. Come on.
Yes, I did. How's your Tesla? There better not be any dust on it.
Oh, there is.
Good to see you, Alex. Haven't seen you for a while.
It's not like I haven't been around, Bill.
Where have you been?
No, I've been around. I just don't make much noise.
Watching, spying.
Exactly.
So what do you think? What do you think of us doing this weekly hangout? Do you like this idea?
Well, it seems like a pretty cool idea. I mean, obviously the trick is getting people to watch, although last I checked, I think we're like, what, 14? 15? Something like that?
Yeah. The nice thing is, though, they can watch it later on their own time.
That's true.
It's also nice that we got the chat on YouTube going, too. I like that part.
Finally. What was the secret to that, guys?
Scheduling the Hangout through YouTube instead of Google.
Okay.
Yes. Another discovery we made. Yes.
I like it.
Alex, we were talking about your first custom PC build.
Oh, dear. First custom PC build. Yeah, you're giving me that look, Bill.
Well, I don't know if you have enough time to tap into archive.org. That's what I try to do today, is try to find anything.
Let's see. First, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the first custom one was, because, well, there were a lot of them. That machine that I took a photo of and stuck up on Twitter a while ago. Do I have that photo on this computer?
Well, I remember your famous ghetto one, the cardboard one.
Oh, the cardboard one. Yeah,
Can we see a picture of that? Let's see that.
Yeah, okay, fine. Oh, come on, mouse. Okay, so So yeah, I can pull that up. Just give me a second here. I'm
Find it, yeah.
Come on, mouse. Yeah, so I was having trouble with my mouse on stream on Thursday. Okay, it's
What?
doing it again.
You were streaming with your mouse on Thursday? I missed that.
Oh no, no, I was on doing a Twitch stream on Thursday, and yeah, my
Oh, so you
mouse
have a
decided.
Twitch channel?
Yes, I do, Bill. Yes, I do. I just started it last week, and I've been just kind of did 2 quick test streams. That was about it so far.
Is it like a Tesla owners group Twitch?
No, it's not that.
What are you twitching? Your gameplay or what?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. What game is it?
And well, it depends. Like right now, I'm just kind of messing around with Escape Velocity Nova. You guys might remember that from like 2002.
Wow, fits the theme of our show tonight.
Well, yeah. So it's okay. This is getting really annoying. I want to throw my mouse out a window right now. Let's see. Where is that cardboard PC?
Did you see Moss's first build, his IBM with the 40mm fan on the front?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's right. My first build was also a mod, sort of. If supergluing a fan to a case counts as a mod.
I say it does. It's the first step. It's the gateway
Where
mod.
is that?
Oh, you've seen the results.
Okay, I don't have a bunch of the images for the cardboard computer ready, but I do have a blog post that I made years ago that has all of the photos of the cardboard computer.
Okay.
So that's something. Let me just screen share this real quick here. Let's see. You don't need to see all the Photoshop stuff that I'm doing right now, so we'll just share that.
Yes.
There we go.
That got a lot of publicity too, I recall.
Oh, it still pops up all over the internet. And
Superbots.
this thing just does not go away.
Pure corrugated power.
Yep. Got warning intake on there, power, reset, got a lighting switch, good old keep frozen sticker on there. I have spotted this on the internet in a few places where people like cheaply like photoshopped out the Petra's Tech Shop reference on the top.
Uh-huh.
And there's a side view, so it did have the lights inside. This was actually thrown together the night before the grand opening of PTS. It was like me and a buddy of mine in the warehouse were like, okay, I need a display computer. What do we do? And
Yeah,
so we had these boxes that were about the right shape. Grabbed one, started cutting holes in it, stuck screws through it to put standoffs in it.
Oh, I would have helped you out. I would have sent you a case if I knew.
Absolutely no wire management at all.
Is that a DFI motherboard?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
The NF4 Ultra D.
Oh. Fisheye.
Yeah, there are just some shots from. Actually, that's it in the front office at the old PTS office and warehouse, and that's my younger brother there for the grand opening. So yeah, that was really cool. People liked it. It stayed in the front office for probably a year, or I think a year. Mm-hmm. And the cardboard kind of starts sagging after a while.
See, the cold cathode was just kind of thrown in there.
Oh yeah, both of them were just tossed in there. You can see from the fisheye shot there. It was all just kind of thrown together. Hard drive was a screw went through the back of the cardboard box into the bottom of the hard drive and just clamped it in there like that. And the CD drive up top is held in with packing tape because there are few problems you can't solve with either duct tape or packing tape or the double-sided 3M.
You got to appreciate Alex's love for Mother Earth. This is a very eco-friendly design. The guy drives a Tesla. He has solar panels on his house.
You're just not going to let that go, are you, Bill?
No, I'm jealous. I'm jealous that you have a Tesla, so I'm going to give you crap about it.
Okay, that's allowed.
Yeah.
Awesome. You have another project that I worked on years ago that was actually modding an old Power Mac G4 Cube. So it's like swapping out the CPU, ripping out the internal voltage regulators, modifying it to work with an ATX power supply to provide additional power, sticking a Radeon 9800 in it, water cooling it. So I just have like random photos in here from that project.
Oh yeah, like
so building the adapter cable for it to replace the voltage regulator. mess of wires. That was a very tedious process to adapt an ATX power supply to feed power into the cube and replace its built-in voltage regulator board because, with the load that I was applying to it with the change in hardware, it would have blown up, the voltage regulator board. So this was actually done many, many years ago. This photo here, I was in the sewing room in the front room at my parents' house. This is like my grandmother's sewing room.
Yeah, all the threads out there. That's cool. That reminds me of my mom's sewing room.
Yeah, sticking wires. You were mentioning ATX connectors and difficulty in removing pins, and this was like ATX hell.
Yeah.
So for my test here, I don't know if there we go. I actually just have the pins with tape wrapped around them shoved into the ATX connector, the power supply right here, because I had to make the end of the ATX connector that's usually on the motherboard. So I had to get the right connector for it and the pins for it, and so I hadn't made that yet here. Let's see, scroll down. Let's see, old CPU, replacement CPU, and I kept it a Mac. It wasn't like modded into a PC or anything. This is actually replacement CPUs and stuff that were PowerPC CPUs. Let's see, random testing. Oh, this is the heatsink that I used in the first test for it. That was the old, I think it's the Volcano 7
the Thermaltake Volcano,
yeah, it was one of those, and I ended up it didn't work so well, dense fin pack. So let's see, there was my solution.
Oh, yeah.
Stab it with a screwdriver and fan it out, make it like one of the old Zellman heat sinks.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and then cutting a bunch of stuff, cutting out heat sinks. To have actually loaned this to my brother, and he took it to his shop class in high school and milled out all the fins because I didn't, have access to a mill. Coolants.
Coolants.
Yes. I still hate coolants, but the reason these parts were used is because they were the only water blocks that were low profile enough to work.
Right.
That were on the market at the time.
Eheim pump. That is pronounced Eheim, isn't it?
Eheim. I'm not sure.
It's German.
Yeah, it's German. And
aquarium.
Yeah, they're not really good for this application, but that was a temporary pump.
Yeah.
And one of the old black ice 80 millimeters with a bunch of hollowed out fans and shrouds and adapting the 92 and all kinds of weird stuff. Water block went on there. I think the actual kind of finished photo here. Yeah, so I took out the liner that blocked the view of the components, and so you ended up with an actual view of all the components in the cube.
That's great. Great job. I'd never seen this one before.
The initial testing after it all went back together again was throw the pump in a bucket and and turn it on and hope it didn't stop working. Using UV CFLs just to check for leaks, because with it assembled, there was no way to actually touch anything or look at anything. So it was throw a ton of dye in it, and well, if blue shows up on the boards inside, then I have a problem. Let's see, I had to solder power to the back of the video card because there's no room for a connector because the card, well, I already had to make some changes to the case to fit the card. Let's see, I killed one card. Let's not talk about that.
This is such a great example of the early years of this hobby, though.
Yeah.
And how much work you went through.
Yeah, and then these are the final shots. Again, you see the liner removed, so you have kind of a aluminum backing instead of the weird white trash bin that they had surrounding the computer. And I ditched all the bucket stuff and just put like an old Chevette radiator on a little. It looks super ghetto, but I just wanted to finish the project and didn't care anymore.
Oh, I get it. It's great. Loved it. What year was that? 2004.
Yeah, it was 2004. So it's not my oldest project, but it's not exactly recent.
No, I love the Chevette radiator reference because I remember so many times that the shopping lists people would put together were specifically automotive shops.
My mom
That's
had
where
a
water
1980
cooling came
Chevette.
from.
And where are the Chevettes today? They're all gone. They all rusted away. You guys want to take one question and then we'll close out? One more question for everybody?
Fire it up. Let's see what's in the pool.
This is from Envious Mods. One of my favorite things about modding is inspiration, whether it's being inspired or inspiring others. What is all of your favorite sources of inspiration? Is it automotive, aerospace, or maybe even another modder, and why? We'll start with you, Alex.
Oh dear. Most of the mods I've done haven't really focused around aesthetic themes, so they've been more functionally driven. So cramming hardware that doesn't belong into weird spaces or cases or form factors and stuff. So I'm not really sure. Not really sure where I'd say I draw inspiration from. Again, mostly because I don't do the aesthetic mods typically.
It seems like my experience
I like
knowing
form
you,
factor challenge.
yeah, it is that you see like this goal, this challenge. You like to be challenged in seeing something that has been done before, and like just like the example you showed us. I'm sure you were the first one in the world to have done that.
Probably.
Yeah. You like to be challenged with that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
the funny thing that the original work log for that the G4 Cube mod actually did make front page of Hard OCP many years ago. And at one point I was approached by someone from CPU Magazine for it, but that just kind of fell through.
Yeah,
because
I can see that.
It's them.
Right on, man. How about you, Moss?
For me, probably mostly architectural, and largely antiques, I guess. A lot of my style has kind of got one foot firmly planted in yesteryear and one looking forward. It's just probably not something that's actually going to happen in the future, but you know. As far as inspiration goes, sometimes all of a sudden you'll just be doing something random and you're like, you know, that would be a really good idea for something. Like for my wife's computer, we had the Victorian desktop is what that one was. And we had been out at an antique store and she just found this great and bought it because she liked the look of it and no idea what we were going to do with it. So later when she wanted a computer to replace her laptop, I was like, well, I guess I have some ideas. And then she's like, well, what about this vent? It's like, oh, I guess I'll scrap all of the ideas I had and we'll see if we can't figure something else out. So sometimes it's, you know, for me designing around one specific thing, or a lot of times also just like a concept. So one of the ones hanging in a balance, that one was like, well, I think it'd be really cool. I'm building a case for a Nook. If I could get it to like cantilever and kind of hang, I thought that would be kind of sweet. But other than that, I would definitely say like a lot of Art Deco style inspiration is definitely in my builds.
Yeah, just like looking at Slippery Skip's build, you know, watching him do stuff.
For sure.
What about you, Drew?
Dude, inspiration is everywhere. It's what you listen to. It's what you see. It's who you talk to. Some of the best memories I have of instigating on Pinprick, because yeah, again, I wasn't a classic modder. I didn't do the things that you guys do, but I got in there and I just planted those seeds, and just evolving the conversation to say, hey, I was walking through the store the other day, I saw such and such an obscure item, and it reminded me of you and what you like to do. And plant those ideas into people, you know. And it really is just a matter of, you know, I think of Chris whenever I see a groovy grain pattern in a piece of wood these days, you know, something that he might be able to shape into something else. Or, you know, there's a really cool antique anything piece of metal that you see walking through the store, and you just want to pick it up, take a picture of it, show it off to everyone, and say, hey, you know, I bet you guys could really throw this into something and make it awesome. And my wife does jewelry. She sells it on Etsy, and she does a lot of stuff that her inspiration is her favorite film, Star Wars. She grew up on the original trilogy. She's one of the people who will actually defend the new trilogy, which as much of a not a fan as I am, I applaud her for being able to do so. And So she'll pick out little things, like she put together a really gorgeous yellow-orange, very translucent, I mean, it radiated like it was a sunset itself, and so she named it after the Tatooine sunset, things like that. And yeah, I mean, inspiration, if you're not finding inspiration, you're not looking hard enough.
I was just thinking she could create crystals for LEDs, like crystal covers for LED lights on your PC or something.
Right now, we don't really have the drill for that. That's something we're looking into eventually, maybe getting. Right now, though, she's more focused on, she'll buy the pre-drilled beads and string them together, and she'll create the earring mounts. She's looking at getting the kit to be able to start doing the custom silver enclosures around things. I guess if we were to pick up some little acrylic cubes that she could attach things to, and we could just put the LEDs in, that would be kind of cool looking.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, a lot of people that follow my work already, I love science fiction, and cars seem to be the main ones. Biomechanical, H.R. Giger, the Alien movies, Blade Runner. There seems to be I watched The Matrix yesterday with my son for the first time, and I was watching it thinking, I would love to do a Matrix build, although the movie's fairly old now, but you can't help but see all these ideas, especially with the Sentinel and just the way the ship is and the layout with all the screens, and it's inspiring to see that stuff. So,
do you remember what case it was that we all saw, and the first thing that we thought of was the mother computer?
On an Nostromo?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I gave it to a friend. Because I had found a case that reminded me, because it had like a Wayland space for like a Wayland W. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, there was one that it looked like it would have been one of the pieces that you ripped right off. Nope, no, it was black. It had the thick plastic fins, and it just looked like something that you would have ripped right off the set of the Nostromo as being one of the components that attached to Mother.
And you're talking about, this was a case that I had shown you? Or?
Yeah, you found it online. And
yeah, Enermax. It was in Enermax. I gave that to my friend not too long ago. Enermax Ostrug? Or I'm not sure. I'm sorry to go down this rabbit hole, guys. I think was it the Ostrug, or was it Ostrug? No, that's not. It's not the Enermax. It was an Enermax, or was it a Zolman? I'm sorry. I don't remember. It had a weird name, but yeah, that's the one I was referring to. That on the sides it had like a silhouette of the Wayland W on the sides, and it looked like an old IBM case, finned out. And it looked either good as a desktop or a tower. It was man, I don't remember. Sorry.
No, I was hoping if we had a shot of that, just to be able to throw that up as an example of.
I know. Now you got me.
Was it the vector, the I vector?
Thank you, Moss. I vector. That's it. I vector. Yep. And VEKTOR. I vector. Yeah, I remember it was I think I was vlogging and I was at Greg's shop and he had one there, and I was like,
we did a review of it at one point.
I think Greg had reviewed it, and it wasn't until later when he had it in his shop. I was looking at it, and I pulled out my phone and I said, "Eel, this is our Wayland Corp case."
Got to admit, Bill, when you were mentioned fins, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind.
I didn't mean fins, but I mean just that.
It said fins. Like the first thing that came to mind for me was the Zellman TNN 500 AF.
Yeah.
They're like completely passive extruded aluminum crazy thing.
And that's funny that you bring up that case, because that thing retailed for like $700. There was like two versions.
A lot.
Yeah, and that was designed by the main engineer from Zellman, who went on to launch um, uh, uh, a PC case company called I don't recall the name of it, but it was a completely fanless case he developed. Yeah. Nofen, 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 for no fan. That was a company that he launched. The engineer that developed that Zomen passively cooled, which I've only seen like one or two in the wild on the internet that somebody actually had and did a system in it that had the copper tubes inside with the heat plates or cold plates or whatever for
the heat pipes.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, the TNN 500 was pretty much the same way. It was heat pipes all over the inside, connecting to CPU, GPU, and then linking up with the case panels themselves to dissipate heat.
Hmm. Yeah. Drew, did you find that? Did you see that iVector? Yeah, here.
You're muted.
Oops.
Still muted.
Close. I do believe that is the one. I was just remembering it a little bit differently, but it's been a few years since we were talking about it.
Yeah, and you can see what I mean by the W for Wayland Corp.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
okay, and here's what we did. Eel and I actually brainstormed doing a build with two of these, and they were going to be stacked. They're going to be on their side as a desktop. It's stacked, two of them stacked. And we were going to do a build for the launch of the Alien Isolation game by Sega, which I think it's now 2 years ago that came out. We were going to do a build, and we were going to partner with Sega and Maximum PC and give the system away, but somebody, not us, dropped the ball on that, and it never happened. But there's actually, Eel's got concept art for what we came up with. And what we wanted to do is create a PC that looked like it came from the flight deck of the Nostromo. So kind of bummed about that, but now my friend now has that case. He needed the case, and I gave it to him. So
yeah, that's what I'm remembering is you showed me that the back-to-back setup, so I've got that in my head versus what the case actually looks like.
Yeah. So on that note, thanks, Alex, for joining us today.
No problem. I mean, you kind of.
You.
No, I wasn't really pushed into it. It just.
We kind of badgered him into it.
Yeah, all right. So you kind of did.
He was gaming on his Twitch channel.
No, not today. I've been working on stuff today, but no. The thing that got me was a comment about SLI. I happened to have the stream open, and I heard GeForce 2 and SLI. No, that was 3DFX Voodoo.
Yeah, the old
NVIDIA didn't start doing that until 2004.
After they absorbed 3DFX.
So much absorbed 3DFX, just take the name.
Well, the Voodoo 5 engineers joined the team. That's where they got the GeForce 4.
I had one of those.
Yes. Yep.
That poor TI 4200.
The good old days, bad old days, however you want to call it, when we had, five separate companies?
Well, there were the days when you had to overclock things just to get your games to run.
Yeah. I miss that. And I miss that more. That DIY realm is disappearing. As manufacturers are now
making things that work.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I would argue that. I was actually dealing with a 980 GTX 980 Ti by Zotac, and as you guys know, a lot of these manufacturers have their own cooling shroud designs, and I could not. I could get the thing to barely fit inside this particular motherboard that I was using because the shroud was slightly too big, and I'm thinking, this is just ridiculous. Why can't we? Yes, there is supposed to be a standard in how large you can go, but it seems that some companies are still pushing the boundaries. But you're doing that and you're just upsetting your consumers. That
Bill, I think the real problem here is you just weren't using a big enough hammer.
Okay then, sounds good. I've
No,
got
but
the perfect one.
I do agree. It is an issue with. I mean, it's difficult to make things 100% compatible, but yeah, we do have form factor standards, and a lot of manufacturers are not abiding by them. And yeah, you end up with problems like that. And you also end up with motherboard manufacturers making dumb decisions like putting all the USB headers on the board in that space between the video card slots.
Yeah.
Because that's a great place for them to go, right?
Well, because it matches the minimal standard. We don't need to worry about maximal standards.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. All right. All right. Had a good time with you guys going
Yes,
down memory lane.
indeed. All right, so everyone viewing, everyone who's going to view this later, everyone around the world, not that we're going to get that coverage this early, but hey. www.themodzoo.com. We cover just about everything. Actually, now with the addition of the custom build that doesn't have to do directly with PC's subforum, yeah, we do potentially cover just about every damn thing you want to cut up, paint, put a drill to, put a hammer to, everything you can come up with. And if you think there needs to be a specific forum, you can suggest it. We've got a shout box on the bottom of the forum that you can use to communicate to everyone. Post questions, post suggestions. Go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/themodzoo. We also have Twitter presence. No matter where you look, we can be found. Google+. Any of the new obscure ones, we're kind of trying to limit our not exposure, but how overworked we get until the day that Facebook decides that it is going to link to everything under the sun.
I think you guys should start a Modzoo Instagram account or a Modzoo Snapchat and have Cheeps do it.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Yep.
boy.
Just give it to Cheeps.
No, he actually logged in the Skype today going, hey, I'm ready for the podcast. Cheeps, there is no podcast today. So that's, yeah. He's always the last to know, so he'd be probably not a good candidate for that, Alex.
You didn't want to rope him into this?
He's
could.
welcome. If he wants to log in, man, he's more than welcome.
Yep. He should be awake by the time we do it by 4 p.m. in Texas. He should be awake, so.
Yeah, we'll hear him crunching on that plate of bacon.
Yeah.
Alrighty, it's been great. It's been an hour and 15 some odd minutes. That's fantastic, I think. So, yeah, we look forward to meeting you all again next week. The planned topic for next week is work logs for dummies. So,
and there's a demand for this topic, I heard already.
excellent. So yeah, if you have any questions about what it takes to make a work log, any suggestions for those who might be starting out, all of that stuff, come out to the forum. We're going to have a sub-forum set up for questions to be posted for us to take into the weekly hangout and hopefully burn up some more time. So, until next week, ladies and gentlemen, go chop the hell out of something, would you?